Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Behrens. Today I have your reading lesson for Tuesday, October 27th. The materials you will need are your science notebook and a pencil. Our learning targets for today are: I can read text for information, I can connect new information to prior knowledge, and I can answer a question in paragraph format. Today we are going to be reading an article titled Hot Enough for You? This article connects to our ecosystems unit because it explains the impact that small changes can have on ecosystems. Listen and follow along as we read the article together. Not much doubt about it. Things are heating up. Scientists estimate that Earth has warmed by 1 degree Fahrenheit over the past century, and the warming rate has increased in the past 20 years. What difference does a degree make? On a day-to-day basis, there's little difference, but scientists see things from a long-term perspective. A warming trend could mark a big change in Earth's environment. Rainfall patterns would change. This would affect farmers across the world. Catastrophic weather events, such as hurricanes, could become more common. Glaciers might melt too. The sea level would rise, and some coastal cities would be flooded. Even very slow warming could have a serious impact on plants and wildlife, as well as on humans. The cause of the warming is not well understood. Some scientists think it's just a normal variation, but other scientists believe that the warming is not natural. They call this trend global warming. They say it has been caused by human activities. These activities have changed the chemical composition of the atmosphere. Here's how many scientists describe global warming. Trapping the heat. A gas called carbon dioxide, or CO2, has always been a small part of Earth's atmosphere. Sunlight passes through CO2, much as it does through glass panes in a greenhouse. The sunlight heats up Earth. Heat from the warmed planet then flows back into the atmosphere. But CO2 traps the heat and prevents some of it from escaping. Because the heat cannot pass out into the upper atmosphere right away, Earth is getting warmer. You may want to think of CO2 as a blanket. The thicker the blanket, the warmer it will be underneath. This warming mechanism is called the greenhouse effect, and CO2 is called a greenhouse gas. Other greenhouse gases include methane and nitrous oxide. Greenhouse gases are nothing new, but for thousands of years, the amount of greenhouse gases in Earth's atmosphere stayed about the same. Earth's average temperature remained the same too, about 15 degrees Celsius, or 59 degrees Fahrenheit. But 150 years ago, things began to change. People started burning fossil fuels, such as coal, gasoline, and oil, in increasing amounts. People also started cutting forests down faster than ever before. The burning of fossil fuels and wood put more CO2 into the air. The balance of gases began to change. Today, the level of CO2 in the atmosphere is 25% higher than it was a century ago. The percentages of methane and nitrous oxides have increased too. Most scientists think that the increase in these gases explains why Earth is warmer now than it has ever been since people started keeping records of the temperature. We can do something about the increasing temperatures worldwide. The first step is to decrease our use of fossil fuels. Make a change. Global warming is a hot issue. Keep an eye on the news to see what happens next. In the meantime, do what you can to keep Earth's temperature in check. Here are some tips from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA. Plant a tree. Tree leaves absorb CO2 from the air and use it for photosynthesis. Trees also provide shade and cut cooling costs. Give the car a rest. Use the bus. Walk to school. Tell your parents to carpool. Tell them that if they left the car at home just one day a week, they could reduce CO2 emissions by about 800 pounds a year. Look for the label. When your family buys appliances, look for products that have the government's Energy Star label. These products are energy efficient. Tell your friends and adults about energy-saving tips. A few actions on your part can make a big difference. Now that we have finished the article Hot Enough for You, we are going to respond to what we've read in a couple of different ways. As you can see on this slide, we first have a diagram that explains the cause and the effect that the article discussed. You can see on the left, underneath the word cause, it says, Earth has warmed up by 1 degree Fahrenheit over the last century, and the warming rate has increased over the last 20 years. Just like the article said, these things are describing what we call global warming. In our science notebook, we are going to write down the other part of the diagram, effect. Take out your science notebook now, as well as your pencil. Remember to write the date in the corner, and we will title this entry Hot Enough for You. Once you have your paper dated and titled, we are going to copy that diagram into our notebook. Remember, on the left was cause, and on the right, effect. In the box underneath cause, here we go. We will write my mistake. In the box underneath cause, we will copy what the article said. It said, the Earth has warmed up by 1 degree Fahrenheit over the last century, and the warming rate has increased over the last 20 years. I am going to paraphrase that because I don't need to write every single word down. So I'm going to write increased temperature and global warming. Now your job is to think about what you read in the article and write down what the effect of an increased temperature and global warming might be on our planet. Pause the video now and fill in the box for effect. If you have finished filling in the box for effect, we will move on to the second part of our response. At the bottom of this page, you will see a response question. It says, in a paragraph, answer the question, what can you do to help keep the earth from warming up more? I'm going to go back to my science notebook page and record that question so that I can remember what I'm responding to. What can you do to prevent the earth from warming up more? Think about what the article gave as examples for actions that you and I can take to prevent the earth from warming up more. If you want to reference the article that we just read together, it is attached to the Schoology assignment. You can open up each page of the article and reread the parts that you would like to look back on. Once you find the information you want to include in your response to this question, remember that you will be responding in a paragraph format. That means indenting before the first word, writing in complete sentences, and writing multiple sentences. Most paragraphs have somewhere between 3 and 5 sentences. Use that as a goal for yourself when you are writing your paragraph response. Lastly, remember to have capital letters at the beginning of each sentence and to use punctuation at the end of each sentence. When you have finished your response in your science notebook, take a picture and submit it to Schoology.